Hi everybody, Tex-Mex here. Thanks for joining me for another video. Today we're going to take a look at Smith and Wesson J frame snub-nose revolvers. You know, prior to the turn of the century, really prior to the late 90s, if you wanted something small and compact, it was hard to beat a snub-nose revolver. Although nowadays, there are plenty of sub-compact, high-capacity, semi-automatic pistols and such. If you wanted something reliable that you could stick in your pocket, conceal carry, or potentially carry in an ankle holster, it was really hard to beat a snub-nose revolver. And these Smith and Wessons are sort of iconic of what the snub-nose revolver is. Obviously, they're not the only ones. Colt had theirs as well. And there's a production of many different types of revolvers, but the Smith and Wesson is one of the more popular out there. Now, all three of these are 5-shot 38 specials with exposed ejector rods. They're a little bit different in how they work, and we'll talk about that here in a second. In fact, what we'll do is we'll go through them oldest to newest, the oldest being this Model 60. In fact, this is a 60 no dash, which means it was produced somewhere between 1965 and 1972. It was, this one specifically was the first stainless steel production, and it was a stainless version of the Chief Special. Now, this one's a little different as well because it has a bobbed hammer, which means it's double action only. Most revolvers, you have the option of cocking back the hammer and firing the gun that way, giving you a lighter trigger and potentially a slightly more precise shot. These bobbed hammers are double action only, so let's take a look here, make sure it's safe. So there's nothing in the cylinder. If you want to fire this gun, you have to just pull the trigger in double action mode. It's very smooth. It's such an old, extremely smooth trigger. It feels great. And the reason some people did bobbed hammers was because if you carried this, say, in a shoulder holster or something of that sort, you didn't have the little horn on the back of the hammer here to catch on something as you'd be drawing the pistol. So it made it smoother in the back so you could draw it from whatever holster without having to worry about it getting caught up. Now, these were about 22 ounces. And that takes us to the Model 649 over here. And this also known as the Bodyguard. And this is a stainless version of the Model 49. Now this one has what's called a shrouded hammer. So once again, you have this area here covering the hammer so you don't have to worry about it getting snagged on anything. The big difference here is that this one you can fire on single action mode. So let's take a look here. See, it's completely empty. So you can fire this one as a double action revolver. Or if you want a slightly more accurate shot, you can cock the hammer back, and it's a much lighter trigger pull. Extremely light. That felt very light. Yeah, that's like a light trigger pull on there. Now, you know, these are fixed sight revolvers. There's not a lot of sight radius here, so you're not going to get a whole lot of accuracy out of these pistols at long distances. But having the option to shoot at single action was kind of nice. And in fact, the first snub nose I got was a shrouded hammer. Now, that one being stainless steel is also about 22 ounces. And that was one of the issues with these little revolvers. They were somewhat heavy, and then once you loaded them, they were even heavier. So what Smith and Wesson started to do was they started creating some alloy framed versions, such as this one. It's called the Airweight, and this is the Model 642. Now this one does have an alloy frame, but it does have a stainless steel cylinder and barrel. But the frame being alloy makes it much lighter. This one is actually just over 14 ounces, half the weight of those other two. This one has what's called an enclosed hammer. So you have a bobbed hammer, shrouded hammer, and enclosed hammer. The enclosed hammer is completely enclosed, which I guess can be beneficial in that nothing can start getting in there, whether it's be lint or other foreign objects that may somehow affect the action. You don't have to worry about that. But also it means it's another double action only revolver, so it can only be fired in double action. Now these Airweights are great as far as them being much lighter pistols. That made them a little easier to carry and more versatile. However, it also made them more painful to shoot. The 38 Special isn't too bad. I have a friend who has a Airweight in 357. And when I fire that thing, it feels like putting my hand down on a table and hammering the palm of my hand with a heavy object. It's not a lot of fun, which means that they're not really range toys. You don't buy the Airweights to sit there and target practice with, which is unfortunate because I am a big believer that if you're going to carry a pistol for self-defense or have one at home for self-defense, you should shoot it quite a bit just so you are very comfortable with it. You don't want to be trying to learn your pistol during a time of crisis. Now, the only other big difference here is their grips. Now, this has a classic rounded butt grip, which I like a lot. Those fit very well in my hand. Even the square grips do too, but for some reason the rounded grip just feels good in my hand. And then this one has a Hogue style large rubber grip on there. And I say Hogue style, it actually is a Hogue grip. So it's a big rubber grip. It feels very comfortable. Probably makes it a lot easier to shoot. And not only that, it'll help with the feel of the recoil. However, you can see it's a much bigger grip. So if concealment is an issue, that could cause a problem. This is a standard grip that came with the newer Smith and Wesson, and it's somewhere in between. It is a rubber grip, although it's very small, as you can see. It barely gets 2 fingers around it. The third finger is just can kind of tuck itself underneath. But it's still a comfortable grip, and obviously, you can change out the grip, so there's one you prefer or don't like. That shouldn't be a big issue, as there are a lot of aftermarket grips available. What I'd like to do is take these guys out, fire them in double action mode, maybe not too far from the target, maybe some quicker shots in succession, then step back a few more feet and take some slower shots and see how well they compare to each other. So enough of my yammering, let's go ahead and head out. And here we are at the range. Got all 3 pistols ready. That's about 15 yards down there to the target. So I'm gonna get a little closer. We're gonna fire these standing up, freehand. Since 2 of them are double action only, I think it's only fair to make that comparison. So I'm gonna stand about 7 yards away, about half the distance to those targets, and fire 5 rounds double action. And then once we do that, we'll come back here to the table and take rested shots and try very slow shots at 15 yards and see how well we group. So let's go ahead and get them loaded. So we're going to start with the Model 60 here. We got 5 rounds loaded, 158 grain, lead round nose, American Eagle Federal ammunition. That's 5. And now we got the Model 649. 5 shots, double action. That's 5. And now the Model 642-1, 5 shots, the Airweight. This is gonna hurt. There you go. I'm going to want to try that one more time in double action mode. These were the first 5 rounds I fired out of each of these pistols, and I haven't fired, well, this one I'd never fired before, and these 2 I haven't fired in years probably. So now that I see where I'm hitting with them, I'm going to take 5 more shots double action through each, once again at about 7 yards, and see if I can get those groups a little closer on center. Okay, once again we're going to start with the Model 60 first. And that one seemed like I was hitting relatively centered, so let's see how we do this time. Not bad, not bad. And now the Model 649. I'm gonna aim a little higher this time because I was hitting really low with this one. Let's do this. 5 shots. Fired those a little faster. Seems to be a little bit heavier, and obviously this nicer big grip helps a lot, so it lets me be able to shoot this pistol a little bit faster. And last but certainly not least, the Model 642-1. Whew, okay. There you go. And here we are at our targets. And now that we fired 10 rounds through each, the differences are starting to show a little bit. The Model 60 is really shining. It seems like I'm doing very well with that one as far as hitting mostly here in the center. Certainly at 7 yards center mass, this is really good grouping. As far as the 649, I keep pulling it down. I don't know why this one I'm firing so much lower. There was actually one down here, so I got one off paper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's count that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, yeah, it's all 10 there with one here off of paper. That being said, I mean, the grouping's a little good. I'd have to practice with this one to see of maybe, I don't know, I guess I could always file the front sight down a little bit so that I'm aiming a little bit higher, but that's why you need to practice with the gun that you carry so you know exactly how you hit with it. And then finally with the 6.42, which is the more painful one to shoot because it is the Airweight, pretty well as well. This one looks like I was shooting a little bit high, but that being said, here mostly on center, a lot of them in the 9, the rest in the 8, the 8 ring, so not bad at all, not bad at all. And now we're going to finish off this video by doing some slow shots. We're going to do the Model 60 and 4.62 in double action only, since they are double action only. The 6.49 I am going to cock and shoot in single action. I know that's not terribly fair, but you know, the bodyguard allows you to shoot in single action, and since we're taking slower shots here, that's what I'm going to do. So let's start with the Model 60. Let's see if we can get them all on target. A little high. Now the Model 6.49, although we are going to cock it into single action. I'm gonna aim a little bit higher since I've been hitting so low with it. Ooh, that's one. Not even sure that one hit paper. There we go. I'm hitting too high. There we go. You can see the ability to cock the hammer for a single action shot does get you to group it a little bit better. And then finally the 6.42. Okay, high and to the right. Oof, really high and to the right. Let's go a little slower here. I'm not even hitting paper. And that's 5, a terrible 5. I'm not sure, I think maybe I got 2 on there. Let's go take a look. Okay, here we are at our targets. Once again, I'm going to use my body mask to sort of try to shade the targets a little bit here so we can actually see what's going on. So Model 60 once again seemed to have done the best, even in double action mode. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 15 yards. Not bad for a snub-nose revolver. The 6.49, I mean, being able to cock it obviously and shoot in single action did help quite a bit. Got 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to say this is 5 up here. I was aiming high to compensate for hitting so low when I was shooting in double action, and that may have been a mistake. It's possible at 15 yards I don't really have to aim that high, but still, once again, not bad. With a lot of practice, you could probably start hitting relatively well at 15 yards with this. And I actually hit more than I thought on target with the 6.42-1. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 must be this one up here. It can't be this one because the paper is half covering that. So this must have been the other one. That makes sense because it looks like I was hitting a little high and to the left. Not bad for an Airweight 38 special snub-nose revolver, double action only at 15 yards. Certainly, snub-nose revolvers are, you know, meant to be short range weapons. It's not something you're going to be taking slow calculated shots at long distances with. If you think that's going to be an issue for you, I would certainly try to carry something with a longer sight radius and a more comfortable grip. But that being said, for self-defense, either of these pistols, they all did great. But if I had to give a prize to one of them, it would be the Model 60, the oldest Smith and Wesson that I fired today. It did great. That double action trigger feel real nice, and at both short range quick double action shots and long range slow double action shots, I tended to hit very well with that. So anyway, hope you all had a good time watching. This was a fun shoot, and I will see you all in the next one.